The morning Kemi disappeared. The village of Isa felt different. The air was heavier, the sun slower to rise. The women at the market whispered among themselves, their voices lowered as they traded palm oil and garri. The men who usually gathered under the iroko tree to share news chewed their kola nut in silence, their eyes darting toward the river bank. Something was wrong, but no one dared to say it out loud. Kemi was the kind of woman who never went unnoticed. She was either the most beautiful nor the wealthiest, but she had a presence, the kind of presence that made people pause. She was known for her laughter, the way it carried across the village like a bell, and for the song she hummed while fetching water. She had been married for 3 years to Femi, the son of a respected trader, and from the outside, theirs was a peaceful union, but peace, like still waters, often hide depths no one could see. The first person to notice her absence was her younger brother, Tayo. He had come to deliver cassava from their mother's farm, knocking lightly on the wooden door of Kemi's small hut. When no answer came, he assumed she had gone to the river to wash clothes, but when he reached the river bank, all he found was a wrapper floating near the shore, caught between the roots of an old tree. The fabric was soaked, its once bright blue dulled by the muddy water. Tayo's hands trembled as he picked it up. He looked around calling her name, but the river did not answer. By mid-afternoon, the village was restless. Femi stood among the gathered elders, his face a mask of concern, but his hands remained in the pocket of his embroidered boba, as though he was holding something inside himself. The women murmured, exchanging knowing glances. They had heard the muffled cries from Kemi's hut at night. They had seen the bruises hidden beneath her sleeves. But in Isa, a wife's silence was expected, a suffering woven into the fabric of marriage. The search party combed the village, the forest, and the river's edge. When night fell, lanterns flickered against the tree, their reflection dancing in the water. Kemi's mother, Amabisi, sat by the river bank, rocking back and forth, whispering prayers between sobs. "She is my only daughter," she kept saying, her voice cracking like dry wood. "She knows this river like her own breath. She will not just disappear." For 3 days, Isa said. The whisper grew louder, suspicions thickening like harmattan fog. Some said she had run away, tired of her husband's heavy hand. Others feared the worst, that she had drowned, her body carried away by the river's unseen current. The others consulted the diviner, an old man with clouded eyes and a voice like rustling leaves. He threw cowries on the ground, traced patterns in the dust, and nodded slowly. "She is not gone," he murmured, "but she is not free." The villagers exchanged glances. What did that mean? Mama Bisi clenched her chest, her breathing shallow. "Where is my daughter?" she pleaded. The answer came at dawn on the 4th day. A fisherman named Adewale found her. She was sitting by the river, her feet dipped in the water, her clothes torn and covered in dirt. Her hair, once neatly plaited, was tangled and damp, but it was her eyes that made Adewale freeze. They were hollow, as if something inside her had been taken. When she was brought back to the village, the people gathered, waiting for her to speak, but Kemi said nothing. She walked past them all, past Femi, who reached out but dared not touch her, past Mama Bisi, who fell to her knees in relief. She walked straight to her childhood home and shut the door. For days she did not emerge. When her mother brought her food, she barely ate. When the village women sat outside her door singing songs of comfort, she did not sing along. She only stared at the walls, as if listening to something only she could hear. Then, one evening, she spoke. The river called me, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. I walked to the water that morning, like I always did, but this time I kept walking. Mama Bisi reached for her daughter's hand, but Kemi pulled away. I did not want to come back, she continued, tears slipping down her face. I was ready to let the river take me, but it didn't. Just let me there. Just let me. The silence in the room was suffocating. Outside, the village waited. Finally, Mama Bisi asked, Why, Kemi? Why will you do such a thing? Kemi's shoulders shook as she let out a quiet sob. And then the words came. The truth that had been buried beneath her silence. I was tired, she whispered. Tired of pretending. Tired of hiding the bruises. Tired of smiling when my heart was breaking. Every night I wondered if there would never ever be an escape. And that morning, when I saw my reflection in the water, I didn't recognize a woman staring back at me. Mama Bisi wept. The women outside wept. The others who had ignored the quiet suffering of a young wife turned their faces away in shame. Word spread through the village like wildfire. Women who had swallowed their own pain began to speak in hushed voices. Men who had watched their fathers treat their mothers with the same indifference began to question the weight of tradition. And Femi disappeared that night. Some said he fled in fear, knowing the village would no longer protect him. Others said the river had finally taken what it was owed. Kemi did not ask. She did not care. She only knew that for the first time in years, she could breathe. The river had given her back to herself, and this time she would not let go.